everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by CoolStuffInc.com, CardHoarder.com, Alter Sleeves, as well as Twitch subscribers and Patreon supporters just like yourself. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, MTG Nerd Girl.
Hey guys, welcome back.
Ruben Bressler.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
Professional interrupter.
That's what I like to be called.
That's why, we're making the medium bucks. And if you missed our pre-show, subscribers to this channel get access to our NSFW version early. But this week, we actually did a whole pre-show for everyone. So you get to see an idea of me sitting around talking about stuff. I didn't even get to the CSGO BS. But next week, I will talk about boom, boom, shoot, shoots. And it'll be awesome. Great. You'll love it.
Well, we didn't want to scare potential new patrons away from the pre-show.
Right.
Fine.
Exactly.
Fine.
You gotta keep, and also that's the premium content that you have to keep behind a paywall.
You want to see me nerd out over CSGO players.
Over Counter-Strike, yeah.
Counter-Strike, so good. All right, and we kick it off with our first pick in our giveaway. Get your chance at $50 worth of anything at CoolStuffInc.com by typing !raffle in the chat, but subscribe first to get 2 chances to win. And support your favorite streamer with your suggestions at the end of the show to see who we raid tonight. That is thanks to our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day. And we kick it off this week with the Secret Lair. We kicked off many weeks with Secret Lairs, let's face it.
Yeah. But
this week is kind of no different, as it were. So Wizards had announced, I believe it was last year even, that a Fortnite Secret Lair was coming. And they're like, just so you know, it's going to be a thing. We're like, all right, fine, it's cool. And lo and behold, today is when it drops. And I'll try to bring it up on screen here so you guys can check it out. And this is, let's see how best to show this, I guess, just to start clicking through.
Sure.
It has a host of really interesting cards. Most notably, it starts off with Wrath of God. You have Grim Tutor, which is some of the money in there. Planar Bridge, which is cool. Why is Supply Llama Ethereum Sculptor?
I don't know the flavor. I'm not a Fortnite person, Evan. You'll have to ask your kids.
Yes.
Why?
My children have played this, and I have played this very little with my children. But what I remember about the Supply Llama was you busted it, and it's like a pinata, basically. It's It's a pinata that gives you stuff like health bonuses and things. So like bottle gnomes would have been perfect for that.
Sure.
Something that dies and gives you a thing, right? And
gives you a bonus.
Yeah, Ethereum Sculptor is like, why? Really? Okay. Dance Battle? Dance of Many from the dark, ladies and gentlemen, from the dark.
That's a wild reprint.
That is.
It is. And I think the art's actually really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the coloring.
Yeah, I think that's actually super rad. I do agree. And the fact that you can bring like a $15 card from the dark back because it's weird and you got to print them somewhere, I'll forgive them for Ethereum Sculptor. Triumph of the Hordes, a $12 uncommon from New Phyrexia.
Cool. Which
is all kinds of silly as the Battle Royale card. Let's all get in there and go crazy.
I like that.
Smuggler's Copter is the battle bus. I think that's super cool.
It's very cool.
Perfect. It's perfect, actually.
Yeah. Smuggler's Copter, unfortunately, a bulk rare now. But the art is insane. It's a card that goes in cubes. So if you want to Fortnite up your cube, this is perfect. And the art, hilarious.
And thank you. Go ahead.
It is funny to see a thing that warrants a ban is now bulk rare in every Eternal format, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's actually factually bulk rare at this point. And thanks to the Maverick Girl for knowing that. Dance of Many was reprinted in 5th edition alongside 4 bajillion other cards. But I'll show it up first.
To this day, 5th edition, I think, is the largest Magic set ever.
Of before they started doing showcase stuff, I think it was. Yeah. And here are the basic lands. They did basically 5 basic lands for themed after Fortnite and spots like on the Fortnite map. And that's kind of neat. I mean, I got nothing against that. I am fascinated and would be fascinated by the sales numbers on the basic land releases like this. Like, how many of these are they actually going to sell? And we've been here before where it's like the basic land stuff doesn't really sell that well generally, and the secret lair stuff's more expensive because of it.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how. So there's a couple things here. One is we know that this is going to sell well. We don't know exactly what the numbers are going to be, but it's going to sell well, and specifically it's going to sell to Fortnite people, not to Magic people. Right? That's what we've learned from The Walking Dead. That's what we've learned from Stranger Things. That's what we've learned from Street Fighter, right? Is that those are not made for Magic players specifically. They'll still sell the Magic cards to Magic players, but they're more as collector's items for the other hobbies. It's like buying a Barbie Pez dispenser, right? The Pez collector might like it too, but it's for the Barbie collector. Or a more recent reference. In any case, the point is that I think that it remains to be seen whether or not something that's a functional card, like a basic land, matters. Because typically those are going to want to go to the players that want to have a lot of them, right? And so if they're so here's what I would think. If all of the actual cards, the Triumph, the Hordes, the Ethereum Sculptor, are in one box, and then the basic lands are in a separate little package,
they are.
They are?
Yeah, they're two
the
separate
basic
releases.
lands are going to go on eBay.
Yeah.
And the packages are going to stay on shelves. And I think that's great. I think that's exactly what you want.
Yeah.
Is you want to sell off the basic lands because they don't mean anything to the Fortnite collectors, but they mean something to the Magic players. I think that's a really cool middle ground.
We're sure that they're sold together, right? In that little plastic package that we're seeing, or is that only a content creator thing?
I'm not sure about the plastic packaging. Wasn't that for Double Masters or right?
No. So the very first reveal before, like this was 2 days ago, the content creator had it in a pink plastic box.
Right.
And then the plastic thing came off and they had 2 secret lair boxes inside of that, one of each. So I'm wondering, is it sold with that fancy Fortnite pink box, or was that a creator bonus that they designed to put in for creators?
I think it's the latter. Because they says there's 2 upcoming secret lair drops, and those are all separate, and they wouldn't have cool packaging or whatever. But they would definitely make cool packaging for content creators to like showcase and show off and stuff.
I do have one on the way. Mine is currently not here yet. Okay. So I actually they sent me an email about this months ago and told me it was coming. And then so what I do whenever I don't know if something's legit or not is I give it to somebody else's address that I have pre-approved. I have a friend in Seattle where it's very clearly not my address. So anything that I think is a good idea, but like I don't want people to know my real address, and they don't often ship to PO boxes. So mine is in Seattle.
Fair enough. I mean, anonymity and, having that separation is super important in today's climate.
When you get that, I would be very interested to see how the Fortnite one specifically is packaged. Because, again, I think that the basic lands in the Fortnite box are going to be for Magic collectors, and that the Fortnite other things are going to be for Fortnite collectors, and to see how Magic has mitigated that sort of tension.
Yeah, it depends if there's 2 separate secret lairs or not. But I do know, Evan thinks that this is just a creator only thing where they were together, but they were both individually packaged in their own little rectangle-y box, just like a regular secret lair that had the like rip tape with it. And both of those were nicely put into a big pink box that had little slots for them to slide into.
Right, which to me would be the visual, like that would be the promo item thing you would give to the creators to showcase them. Right. Joe Blow, I get you see the ones right there behind me? Yeah. I just get the regular old packages, but you get like the super bells and whistles.
Capenna bits.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, you get the cool stuff.
Did you guys see the Modern Horizon one that just came
out? I've got.
You mean the Double Masters one? No.
Yeah, that one, the Double Masters.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was dope. I'm excited to see that hanging up behind you at some point. That looks really cool.
It actually is.
Ooh, there it is. Nice.
That's super rad.
I love that. I didn't realize there was an infinity symbol in the Double Masters thing until your tweet.
Nice. Yeah.
But yeah, I think the other thing about the Fortnite secret lair specifically is Walking Dead has collectors. Obviously, because there's a million action figures, comic books, collectibles, Funko Pops, whatever. Stranger Things is very similar, although it doesn't have as much provenance, right? It's a little bit younger, but it still has, art prints and Funko Pops and collectible bits. Street Fighter was a little bit different because there is more ephemera that you can collect based on Street Fighter. You can collect old cabinets, you could collect old consoles, and in addition to things like art prints and things like that. Fortnite is in a weird spot for me. I don't know if there is a Fortnite memorabilia collector.
I mean, you're also an old man, so.
Well, no, I get that.
But I'm just saying,
Fortnite is the youngest of the four things that I've.
Yeah, I mean, it's got Nerf guns. It's got, there's action figures. There are Marvel comic book crossovers happening right now with Fortnite.
Sure.
And so,
I actually think I have a Fortnite pizza cutter.
See, there you go.
Up on my shelf.
It's a little silly.
I will say,
go ahead.
I actually really like the art. I'm not a Fortnite fan.
Yeah.
I think the game is stupid. I think the gameplay is kind of dumb. I think most of the trash and toxicity in the community is terrible. It's not everything I want to get into. But these are actually some of the nicer arts. I really love the style and the coloring of them. And I think that alone might help mitigate any of the unpopularity for, Fortnite in general, if it's not as popular as Walking Dead. As I actually think that these are really pretty.
I agree.
Yeah.
I really like these.
The art is nice and clear. You know what I mean? It's clean tones and stuff like that. And I agree. I think there was a note in the chat here that they said, could they be putting in cosmetic codes or something in the box for Fortnite players?
Sure.
Those would be worth a lot of money. Those would actually, I could be worth more than the cards themselves, quite frankly, depending on what it is.
This is not a spoiler. This is something that a lot of the content creators who have already received theirs are saying, is that we are not allowed until the 21st to show the surprise card on the back.
Right. There's 2 surprise cards, one in each.
So we're allowed to open the box, show the product, and do all of the things. But originally, and it wasn't until the 19th, we couldn't share the surprise card. And now it's the 21st. So I'm wondering if you might be onto something, that there is actually something extra spicy. Because I don't know if that would be the case if it was normal bonus card.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that would kick it into some high gear there.
A skin code or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Get a different skin for your gun. Yeah.
Exactly.
That'd be awesome. If you could build, isn't the whole thing about Fortnite that you can build towers and stuff?
Well, the thing they're doing right now in Fortnite is no build Fortnite, where it's just battle royale, PUBG style.
That's just a video game. That's just a shooting game.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, that's PUBG.
I mean, it is a shooting game.
Yeah,
That's
and
fair.
it's still a shooting game. It's just that, there's the hacking of the trees and the building of the things. And because basically every single Fortnite game ended with a gigantic flurry of building as high as you can and a million walls and stuff and blah, 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 blah. And then boop, it's over. And you're like, what the hell just happened? And even trying to watch it sometimes was hard. And so, so.
I would be, I hope, I was trying to think what the secret cards should be. I hope there's a ninja.
That would be cool. I would be okay with that.
Because isn't that his thing? Isn't that Ninja's thing?
That's fair, right? I mean, wow, that would be a hell of a brand integration. If I were Ninja's people, I would suggest, it might be worth not thinking of it as them buying you into the product or you buying yourself in the product. Now, that said, as we move out of the first pick, we go to gather the townsfolk thanks to our sponsor, cardhoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. And today we have a whole variety of rebalances for Alchemy. Now, what we did not lead off the show with, and what we have struggled with in various ways is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nerd Girl, is trying to get our kind of heads wrapped around this new Alchemy digital set. It's a lot. And it came out today officially, and then we had the preview stream just the other day. And where are you at right now with Alchemy?
Alchemy Constructed?
I guess both, honestly, because this is a whole set release.
I'm not super into Constructed in general. I think Alchemy's fine for the people who like that. If I had to choose to play a constructed format, I would probably just stick with regular old standard. personally. But again, I don't form very strong opinions about things that are not necessarily for me. So I'm a little less exciting in that area.
It's fine. Just curious if you care, because this is, a digital only thing. So how do you feel right now about the limited aspects of the new Alchemy set?
It's a lot. It is a lot. Oh my gosh. I didn't do a set review, which makes it a lot harder for me. And so I'm playing just to get reps in and learning the cards as I go, which is fine for me and it's more fun. But trying to figure out if I need to respond to a specialization card when it's coming into play and while it's on the stack and my little rope is starting to burn and I'm just like, what does this do? Got to read all the different sides of it. It is a lot.
Yeah, definitely an exercise in quick understanding and quick comprehension. I think from a theory standpoint, I like the specializability. I think it is an interesting take on monstrous effectively, where you just have a one-time power-up boost in the middle of a fight. I think it's a cool mana sink. But from a complexity standpoint, it's horrendous. It's so bad. Yes. The few drafts that I've done feel like core set power level with the most complexity possible, which is a really bad mix.
Yes, I think they're in a sort of a rock and a hard place because I do feel like Specialize is a cool mechanic, but the trick is that in order for it to be worth pitching a card, it's got to be something pretty good and unique in each color. If they were to just give it just trample, just lifelink, just a thing, that's likely not going to be worth an entire card. So it's a balancing act between trying to make the mechanic fun and playable while also trying to make it easy to understand and translate well. And it just isn't a mechanic that I feel like you can do both and or split the difference because it's either or in this situation. And they definitely went with the more complicated side.
How many times have we been here where Wizards find something that players enjoy and then they just go absolutely hog wild with it? We've seen it over and over and over again. You like gold cards? Here's a Lair Reborn, had nothing but gold cards. You like Planeswalkers? War of the Spark ain't got nothing but Planeswalkers. You like treasures? The last Commander set was just treasures for everything, and everything makes a treasure. And now it's you like modal cards? By God, we got you 6 sides now. You're going to just do the one of that. Let's do the 6 sides. That's
but I also
crazy.
I don't mind Magic doing that. I don't mind Magic turning the knob all the way up to the top, seeing where the limit is, and seeing if they can go further. I think that I would rather they go hog wild with Specialize and go kind of to our mind as old fuddy-duddy Magic players, a little bit crazy when it comes to what they can do in the digital card space, as opposed to having to print everything on the card. I think that that's a cool thing for them to try to explore. I think that when you do that, you're gonna miss sometimes. And I think that Specialize just is a miss.
Yeah, maybe if it could have done, I don't know, if there was something 2 colors do this and 3 colors do that or something, something where, because the gameplay loop of they play a specialized card, you right click on it, see what it does, and then you go, oops, I've got to click off of it, see what lands they could possibly, lands or cards they could possibly dish to it. Then you go back and look, and then make sure you don't click too many times, because then you have to go back around the horn to make sure you get, see what the other thing does. It's seriously crazy. So I appreciate how they did see it. They found an upper limit, but damn, it's an upper limit.
And I do think that this would be a much better situation if they found a way to lower what the ability did. If it was something simple like trample or lifelink or whatever, but you can't pitch a card to that. So maybe it was what if it was something along the lines of exile 3 colors of the same card? Say exile 3 cards from your graveyard of the same color. So it puts them on a little bit of a time constraint, but also doesn't remove their resources and gives them a nice little bonus. Yeah. I feel like that might be a sort of middle of the road option here to make these cards a little bit easier to understand and take in.
Yeah. There's also at least 2 cards that I got to the bottom of the text and half of the final line was cut off. by the bottom of the card.
Scroll.
You got to scroll, Will.
And you have to scroll the text box. That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable behavior. The card is the size that it is. If you can't fit the text on the card, don't print the card.
Like,
it's not hard.
I understand that when they like perpetually add abilities or whatever, that you would make a text box that could have a scroll bar. I understand that. But like when your default rules text needs a scroll bar, I feel like, you know,
too far.
I just feel like a lot of these cards, and I'm just going to throw it, I just feel like a lot of these cards would have gotten people rejected from the Great Designer Search. Like, you know what I mean? Like having lived through the eras of gone through multiple Great Designer Searches and seen what it's taken, read 2 decades of Mark Rosewater design articles. Like, holy cow, man.
Yeah,
like some of these are just madness.
The bar, right? Like, I think that getting hired at Wizards is a different bar than making a set while being entrenched within Wizards. I think that you're allowed to experiment and be weird and try and fail more once you've already proven yourself within the company rather than trying to design something for a contest.
I don't know.
That would be my... And again, I'm happy that they tried Specialized.
Sure.
I'm happy that it was an attempt. I think that during development, they could perchance have figured out that this is not going to work. But also they could have said, this is so weird and different that we want to release it anyway. Mm-hmm. And I'm fine with them giving it a shot. And I am also fine with never seeing it again.
Yeah. There's a cool sort of design, I don't know which axiom maybe you'd call it, where Gavin Verhey spoke about the fact that, you know, you want to find that upper limit. You know what I mean? A one mana 20/20 with no abilities is too good. It's too much. Mm-hmm. So what if it's a 1 mana 10/10? What if it's a 1 mana 4/4? Like, how far do you need to go before it sounds reasonable? And, you know, it feels like for Specialized, you know, part of me feels like they'd gone so far in developing it. They're like, well, we just, you know, we're kind of pot committed, right? Like they did the programming and they got everything set up and it works and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, yeah, it's going to be a lot and we'll see what happens. So here we are.
Sure.
My biggest concern with this, though, is that they're taking a lot of extra swings because they can adjust it in Alchemy. And that's great. Mm. But I think that the issue is that it messes up the economy even more in that, yes, you can fix it. You can go ahead and ban that uncommon that's insanely broken, but then we just wasted a lot of cards for wild cards for that, right? And they are not refunding those other build around cards. So they had to be very careful before because a ban meant money. And it does now too, but because they can alter a card, they feel like they can just do that design however they want and not have to worry too much. But that is really, really tough on the economy for players. And it's also really hard to trust a format and get into it when you don't think that you can reasonably play something the next day.
Yeah.
And for these Alchemy rebalancings, I feel like this might be the rebalancing update that really makes or breaks people who will play Alchemy /Historic. Because Cauldron Familiar can't block, and Meat Hook Massacre doesn't gain you life when opponent's creatures dying. Those were like gigantic staples of part of the format. Good, bad, or ugly. Whether you liked, you know, Meat Hook Massacre or not, that's what it did, was save your butt, gain you a bunch of life, and ideally get you back in the game. Now it's not going to do that. And for what it's worth, I appreciate that because I would get run over by that card all the time playing aggro decks. And now knowing they can't just gain, 5 life and sweep my board, that's great. But, is this a bridge too far? I heard a lot more people react to this than the last one, even though they changed about as many cards.
Yeah. I think that specifically for Meat Hook Massacre and Cauldron Familiar, because they have been such indelible parts of grind them out, not necessarily control, but mid-range strategies where that incremental life gain from Meat Hook Massacre and the chump blocking of Cauldron Familiar in addition to the life gain have been a part of people's lives for so long. I like the rebalancing. I think that the rebalancing is fine, and I think that the choices that they made on how to rebalance is also fine. I don't know if people have the patience for it, though.
I mean, Dragon's Rage Chandler going from +2 +2 to +2/+0. That's gigantic. Unholy Heat. Holy cow. I can actually play my Elder Gargaroth and not immediately get it answered by 1 mana removal spells from red, for God's sake. I love that change. I think
6
that's
always
amazing.
felt like too much for Unholy Heat.
It's way too much. Ridiculous. Winota triggers now in 1 or more, which is what it should have been all along, quite frankly. But they fixed it, right? They fixed it. Now you can play with Note again. Green and Ingus. For me, this is 2 things. The fact that they banned Green and Ingus and Alchemy was that they can't change the card without making it unplayable, and they're still okay with the combo in Historic. And if those 2 things are true, it's fine. It's whatever. It's still a little weird, but it's whatever.
Sure.
And otherwise, this pushing of like decent, okay, limited cards to like, hell yeah, let's play them in constructed. Like Dueling Coach, it went from 5 mana tap to 1 mana tap. Like, that's a jump. That's a huge jump.
I mean, they did something similar with Dungeon Descent, right? Where they cut it from 4 mana to 1.
Yeah.
And they get to twist some knobs and see what works. And I think that's cool.
It. Please make bad cards good. Nothing I like more than watching bad cards get better.
I wish that they would take a few less swings with, with the idea that they can nerf whatever they want and play a little bit more conservative and then up them. So that way there aren't bans and economy stuff happening behind the scenes. If things are most likely to only be getting better, then you're never really losing out on a ton of stuff. I think that would be a lot fairer to the player base and make it a lot safer for people to actually get into the format.
I agree.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I feel like, ultimately, I think it's better to raise the other boats, raise the tide of the other cards than it is to like kind of power down everything else.
And it just feels better, right? It just feels better overall to make something, to make a card better than to make a card worse.
Right. Surprise, we made it cooler, more interesting versus surprise, it sucks now. Like, which of those would you rather have, essentially?
Yeah.
All right, so let's take a look here. There was, over the past week, an incredible little event that was organized by Alias V. This was a charity stream they did for benefiting the National Abortion Federation, and goodness gracious, they raised $100,000. It was awesome. Congratulations to Alias V and Olivia Gilbert Hicks, who I believe kind of steered a lot of that throughout the whole day. And they crushed it. Let's go.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Incredible work. You had $100,000? I missed where the $100,000 came from.
I believe they listed $100,000.
Yeah, it was $102,000. I think they had $31,000 in matching from people who had ahead of time said that they would match, whether that was a company or individual people.
Right.
I think there was one creator that matched like a pretty hefty sum of like 10-ish K or more.
Whoa.
And they just had a lot of people also donate things to help ramp that up. And throughout the stream, it was like the top donor in this hour gets this prize. So it had a lot of driving for that.
I don't think we have it. Sorry.
I was just saying, I don't think we have it on here, but also a good one to note too is same cause. We had Jerry Thompson sell off a bunch of his personal product and raise just under 7,000 as well.
Yep.
Oh, nice. There
Absolutely. Yeah. I rarely do I hear about or read about on social media stream events that are just like one creator putting a thing together. Mm-hmm. This took over my Twitter feed for an afternoon, and I think that's worth noting. The number I just clicked on, it said $70,000 in individual without matching,
right?
Which and then another $30,000 in matching, which is incredible work. And it looks like perhaps the donations were still open, so click on the link.
Oh, absolutely. And, because Alias V currently is sponsored by CoolStuffInc.com, just like we are, which is great. She came to me and we're able to throw 5 $100 gift certificates in there for the pool and getting everybody excited and raising some money for a great cause and all that good stuff. So congratulations to them and well done. All right. So let's move on here to Desperate Ravings. And do so by checking our altar sleeves. Check out and support the show by using the code MAGICMICS at checkout for 5% off anything in the store, including a set of exclusive sleeves featuring the Magic Mics crew at altersleeves.com/magicmics. Oh, two desperate ravings. And we kind of sort of only have maybe 1.5 stories, but there was some silliness, some hurt feelings, a little bit of drama just sprinkled in. Let's be honest, kind of a slow news week. So here's what we had. Taalia Vess, and no shade to her per se. We're trying to give the sort of the context here. She's a wonderful content creator. I've been following her for a while now, and she went to the pre-release that we got a chance to go do. They went to the Double Masters, and then their post-show podcast, which we also got to do, which you're often sort of tired at the end of the day. You're just kind of hanging out. She had mentioned that she was frustrated that a lot of the female personalities in Magic were sort of seen as cosplayers and seen as cosplayers first. That kind of came out a little bit by the hard work is being overlooked by dress up and booth babe cosplayers and things of that nature. Cosplayers are very upset. One of the things that she noted was that, Taalia said she was no longer a cosplayer and that she was trying to get noticed for her other content and streaming work. And that would have been one thing, right? Said something that made a variety of the community unhappy. Okay. And she definitely went back and mea culpa'd and said she was sorry and whatnot. And that she didn't formulate her opinions the right way. Now the shot and the chaser. So that was the shot. The chaser was that Taalia was invited to the Magic 30 event as a featured cosplayer. So that was the twist. That was the twist. It was just like you didn't have to talk about the cosplayers that way when you're going to do cosplay to get the job.
Yeah, I think that
that's your silly drama for the week.
It is silly drama. We wouldn't be talking about this in a normal week. I don't think so. I think that this is the product of not formulating words well. Nothing to get canceled over. It is foolish, but we all live and we learn.
There you go.
I mean, I went back and I listened to it, and I do think that the snidbits that were taken as quotes were slightly out of context.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a little bit of an unfair light. Now, saying that Booth Babe and I'm not cosplaying anymore, and I don't like that people are inviting me as a cosplayer, is a little unfair. Given that a lot of people, you're getting jobs for cosplay saying you don't even do it anymore when there's a lot of cosplayers would kill for that job. But also, like, you want to be a bigger content creator that isn't based around cosplay, and you want to be invited to Magic 30. Spoiler alert, I'm not invited to Magic 30. Are you guys invited to Magic 30?
No.
So, like, it's sort of like getting what you want, but then kind of complaining about how you got it.
Right.
And like, if she were just a streamer, she probably wouldn't be invited to Magic 30. So it's a little unfair to say, well, I don't want to be invited for this. I want to be invited for something else. And then
use the something else to get invited. And then.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, there's one main character on Twitter every day, and your job is not to be it.
Yeah. I feel like that this is real benign, though.
I don't think she meant it the way it was taken.
Yeah, right. I agree.
And it got blown out of proportion on Twitter. Crazy. And there was some hot takes and some hotter takes. And before you know it, we're off to our next story, which is to remind you in an uncomfortable way that technically, the regional championship qualifiers that you can play in stores around the country and around the world, as far as I know, don't technically have to have judges. They technically don't, because if they did technically have to, that means Wizards is technically connected to them.
Right.
And that's not cool right now. So just be aware.
Yeah. Technically.
I saw a pretty awful, horror story of someone who the rules interaction was not ruled correctly. The person doing the ruling more or less, didn't know what they were talking about, and the person missed out on like prizes or top 8 or whatever as a result. We're super crazy unhappy and frustrated. And so, part of being an event organizer at this point is to, not only sort of have, things ready for the players who are going to show up and places to play, but also have staff there who can make sure the event's going to run properly. And so, that's just a thing to be aware of, that there can be events without judges.
I think that there's room here for malicious compliance from judges. So if you want to cause a little havoc, you can certainly go to events. I'm not suggesting that you do this, of course, but I would say that what's the problem? You're maliciously compliant in going to an event that has no judge at it. You see where I'm going with this?
I don't know exactly where you're going with this. I'm just afraid
maybe I'm
now.
going a little too far. I'm a little bit too Riddlery here. Mm-hmm. But anyway, you should have people who know what they're doing at your local game store.
Well, not only, let's move on here to some splash damage. Not only did we lose the great actor James Caan, we also lost the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh! Kazuki Takahashi, unfortunately passed away. And they don't know the full details of it. Apparently it was sort of a snorkeling accident thing happened there. So we don't know exactly what happened, but the gaming community all around the world, not just Yu-Gi-Oh players, but, game designers are just like this, this person was incredible. And the way they helped, just make the manga and the game itself be what it is today.
Yeah, this was all over my social media today. Mm-hmm. Really sad. He's on my laptop. You don't need to. You can tell that he was gone before his time because it was a snorkeling incident. I mean, you don't do that if you are bedridden. Right. Clearly his creation has been important to millions of people worldwide, and it's a serious loss.
Yeah. I never got to play Yu-Gi-Oh when I was younger. Essentially, I kind of missed that whole bit. I mean, I missed Pokémon, mm-hmm. But I certainly recognize that it is a force to be reckoned with. And there are, hundreds of thousands, millions of players around the world who still enjoy it. And, that last video game was pretty freaking impressive, from Yu-Gi-Oh! That said, tell us who wants to take this next one? Cause I don't want to take this next one.
I'll take this one. Sure.
You go, buddy. You take it and run.
So PAX, the Penny Arcade Expo, also stepped in it. And this one was a main character on Twitter that probably was a little bit more deserved. This was a statement, and I'm just going to want to read the statement verbatim, because the real crux of what happened here is in the verbiage of the announcement, not in the policy, not in the feelings behind it, but in the way it was announced. Mm-hmm. This is literally called, quote, booth babe, end quote, policies on the Penny Arcade Expo site. PAX has a strict no booth babe policy with the purpose of creating an environment where everyone can feel comfortable and welcome, and the focus is on games, not hired booth staff. Booth babes are defined as staff of any gender used by exhibitors to promote their products at PAX by using overtly sexual or suggestive methods, partial nudity, an aggressive display of cleavage and the navel, and shorts/skirts higher than 4 inches above the knee are not allowed. If for any reason an exhibition and or its contents are deemed objectionable by PAX management, the exhibitor will be asked to alter the attire of its staff. Cosplay characters that are playable in-game are an exception to this rule within reason, and exhibitors must obtain permission from the show management prior to the show. If for any reason an exhibition and or its contents are deemed objectionable by PAX management, the exhibitor will be asked to alter the attire of its staff or remove those staff from the show. Cosplaying attendees may be asked to alter or modify their costume if it is considered overtly sexual. That was the statement. Would you like for me to specifically point out the problematic parts of this?
Yes, for those who don't get it, because some out there don't get it.
That's fine.
You gotta tell them.
We oftentimes will say they say the quiet part out loud. Sometimes that is not in but they kind of did that here. They did one of those things here, where they used the words booth babes, which has a codified language outside of what they meant in this context. That is one thing that they did wrong. Another thing that they did wrong was they said aggressive display of cleavage and the navel, which rings of decidedly male to me. Like that doesn't that doesn't mean anything. Like aggressive display is highly interpretable, and is way too open of a definition. Right. The other problematic thing that they did is that they the 4 inches above the knee skirt policy rings of dress code violations when you have in a high school or something like that. All of this together made a lot of people feel unsafe, unwelcome, unappreciated within the PAX community. I know that they have long had a policy similar to this, perhaps not written out in this way, and they were trying to codify some of the language, but the way that they did it made it feel like some people felt villainized or perhaps
targeted or something. Targeted,
yeah.
And because it's something, something mentioned in chat here is that they've, one of the things, as I recall, that was supposed to be different about PAX was they weren't going to allow booth babes, but never had sort of laid it out in this fashion, more just like, we're not going to do that. So exhibitors don't do that. And then they just didn't, I'm guessing, for a very long time. And maybe it's just kind of crept back in. And now they're like, look, here's the actual codified, laid out in verbiage. And now we're decidedly
this isn't a new policy. It's just the way that they spelled it out was not received super well.
Honestly, you didn't even touch on the thing that I found the most insulting.
Which was?
The exception being characters from video games.
Right.
So now I hate the fact that we are allowing sexualization of games for sales and things like this that is also just not appropriate for reasonable dress. I feel like I should be able to wear whatever I want on Twitch if it is represented in the thing that I'm playing. Like, if it's okay for you to see it in this video game, it's okay for you to dress up as this character that's overly sexualized. I feel like then if my belly button is acceptable here, it's acceptable here. It's a super double standard. And so if you're cosplaying as something not appropriate showing your belly button, but this other well-known character is showing its belly button, who draws those lines? Your character is not known and you are showing too much cleavage, you're gone. Oh, you're playing, X character, fine. I think that double standard is pretty awful. Like, you should either be for it or against it. I think that, people are going to cosplay and you probably just shouldn't take your children to cosplay places if you don't want them to see belly buttons.
Yep. I mean, I think you say to yourself, they're policing all of these, behaviors and clothes and cleavage and blah, blah, blah. And then you walk into this thing and you see like Bayonetta, and you walk into this thing and you see just like really highly sexualized stuff. And you're cool with it being on like 9 foot tall screens, but you're not cool with like actual people dressing up like those same characters that you're okay with being on those screens all weekend, right? Like, is that sort of what we're talking about here?
The other thing someone in the chat is saying that this is, not a problem for cosplayers. It's with the exhibitors and the people employing them. But this thing does say that if you are a cosplayer, they might ask you to change your attire. You are held to the same standard.
And for what it's worth, Bayonetta might not be a great explanation because she's clothed, but certainly there's a sexualization there that I would note. Regardless, either way, like, I definitely feels like they're including cosplayers here as well. If that might be the difference or way it changed, maybe, but there you go.
I don't know how exactly this was altered or changed from their previous written policy. All I know is that I saw more chatter about it today than I've ever seen about this policy before. Yeah, and also, I'm pretty sure it was not called the quote unquote booth babe policy. I think that was specifically a change that was made this week.
It might have been called like the booth worker or the booth something or other or whatever. But again, either way, moving on here, I thought it was interesting just to note, again, in splash damage, it's not related to Magic, but it kind of is. Around the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, the world started to end and stuff. People started to lose their mind over Pokemon, like started to factual lose their crap. And I mean, buy out everything. Every new set was not only selling out, it was selling out early. They started having to put Pokemon behind glass counters and glass, displays and stuff. Remember that had happened, and employees had to let you get them from Targets and stuff. They wouldn't let them just be on the shelves in Walmart because people would come in and just buy everything they could and not leave anything for any other customers. And so what they did, and this wasn't like a surprise, like it was well known at the time that the Pokemon company invested in new printers. Like, I'm not sure if they like literally built new buildings, but it sounded like it, to the point where, they said I wanted to think they said by the end of 2020, they're going to have ramped up production to a significant degree. And now you have a Polygon article where they talk about it, the fact that 25% of all Pokemon cards ever printed, 25% were made in the last 2 years. That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
It's incredible. And so cool stuff. We sell, we pre-sell Pokemon, we sell Pokemon singles, and we have Pokemon in all the stores. And so I was talking to the product manager and I was like, how is this changed? And like, what is going on here? He was like, well, we actually have product when when it comes out. People aren't just trying to hoard buy everything anymore like they used to. The buy prices for all of the cards have gone way down, which means the singles costs have gone down. So people who just want to play the game can play the game affordably, which is nice. And overall, this has really solved the problem of the crazy markups and the scalpers and all this other crap that was started. And Wizards, I don't think has kind of gotten to that point because it's not sort of like a cultural craze, like Magic isn't a cultural craze like Pokemon is.
Yeah.
But, and also YouTubers weren't going nuts getting, Black Lotuses, and by and large. But regardless, they ramped up that production because they saw the problem. And honestly, it looks like they fixed it.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a situation like a couple months into the pandemic where someone got actually very injured by being trampled when a Target opened? Mm-hmm. Everybody rushed in, and these were like grown men. Oh yeah. Like fighting each other to buy out all this Pokemon to scalp it for a couple of bucks profit, and someone actually got trampled and seriously injured. Yeah, that's a thing.
I mean, it is. I mean, this was before my time, but in 1994-95, Magic was a fad. Magic was a fad before it was a cultural icon.
Oh, yeah.
And they spent a lot of time and energy in those early days trying to turn Magic into not a fad. And one of the ways that they did that was economically with their releases and how they released cards and how many cards they released. It seems like Pokemon has had a second jump again. Or maybe even a third at this point, where they had a stable economy and then another cultural boom happened, and then they needed to rebalance the economy again. This just says to me, it seems like that they are taking steps and taking care to do that, which I think is healthy.
Yeah, I mean, it got to a point where people were paying, if you think of sort of a 4-row box, right, of Magic cards, or a 4-row box of cards in general, they were paying $50 per row. And these days, it's down to about $10 per row. So you think of that giant shift in value, and that's kind of where it's come from. And I think that's brilliant. Again, that's the thing. But you gotta be careful with some of these type stories, and particularly some of the sort of the rumoring and the information that you might hear. And a good example was the recent Double Masters release, where they're originally, right before the set, come out, we're talking about 3-4 weeks ago, there were some rumblings that there were issues with people not getting product and stores getting one box instead of whatever they ordered and stuff like that. And again, inside baseball, there was an issue with getting a lot of the Double Masters product to the distributors at one point, but it was solved. So the thing is, this wave came out of like, oh my God, there's going to be no product and no one's going to get anything. And you better order what you can while you can. And then the other half of it didn't get as much buzz of, hey, they solved that problem and there's going to be plenty of product and you can buy some if you want some, and it's wild when you hear those types of things and see them happening. So let's go ahead and turn the corner here to the finisher. Final Fantasy XIV players are hosting virtual summer parties at their in-game nightclubs and are using real-world billboards to promote them. DJ Potato will be performing at Rain nightclub soon, for example, which is both a fake musician and a virtual location in cyberspace. So tell me, trendsetters, what Magic the Gathering people, places, and things would you like to see with their names up in lights? Ruben?
Dominaria's hottest event is the World Spell. Don't get left out in the cold of the Ice Age, because you're not going to want to miss the spell casting of the Millennium. It's sure to be a big blowout.
Woo woo. Nerd Girl?
All right, Capenna's hottest new club is the Park Heights Crescendo. All of the city's best and brightest are going to be there. And of course, all of the A-list celebrities are to die for.
See what they did there. Kamigawa's hottest ticket is the Kami War, a party 5,000 years in the making. You're not going to want to miss this. It's sure to be an event they'll tell sagas about later. Very nice.
Yay.
And that ends another live episode of Magic Mike's. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things magic. Thank you, Nerd Girl.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Ruben.
I hope everyone was okay with my Stefan impression.
Moving to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffing.com, our co-sponsors, CardHoarder.com, and Alter Sleeves, my co-hosts, MTG Nerd Girl and Ruben Bressler. You guys for watching and listening. Hope you support us at Patreon.com/MagicMikes. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mikes, on Twitter at Magic Mikes Cast, our Magic Mike subreddit, and like the Magic Mikes page on Facebook. Or join us here next week. Same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mikes. Good night, everybody.